Can you put your hand up if you currently are a founder of a startup? Okay, put your hand up if you'd like to be a founder of your own startup one day. All right. I'm sorry for everybody else that you did not put your hand up. Maybe you will feel more special at your company if you do one of the things on one of these slides. So today my talk's about keeping the lights on. So I'm the CEO and co-founder of Plum. We are a 13-person company in downtown Kitchener. We use behavioral science to match job candidates with the employer's unique company culture and requirements for the role. 89% of failed hires are due to attitude, so we screen attitude at the very beginning of the hiring process. If you've applied for a job in town, you may have taken the Plum assessment. If not, you can go on the website and get a free profile and learn what your strengths are. The biggest responsibility as being the CEO is keeping the lights on, because overnight success does not happen overnight. A lot of the times, to be a successful startup, you're looking at a minimum of 3 years to kind of be able to maybe start to breathe and be able to feel like your head may be coming up over the surface of the water. But a lot of the times, it's more like 4 or 5 years before you can start to feel like you're successful. So I built 2 businesses for other people. And I thought, well, you know, I dedicated 3 years of my life each time to building their businesses. It was time to build my own. And I definitely had the perception that after 3 years of running a business, somebody would come in, buy us, and I'd be a millionaire, like an overnight success. And that's just not anywhere close to the reality. And it's one thing to build a business for someone else, because ultimately they're responsible for payroll. But when it's your startup, it's your job to never miss payroll. And it's been almost 5 years exactly since I have been doing this full-time, no paycheck from anywhere else, and about 4 years that I've been responsible for payroll. And I can say in 4 years, I have never missed payroll once. And that is a badge of honor as far as I'm concerned, but I can say that, thanks. That's not how success is often measured in the startup world, and it's not often what people go around bragging about. But when you start to have employees, you all get paychecks. You'd be pretty damn pissed if you all of a sudden had a bounce check or no money in the bank. So, you know, as a CEO, it's the thing that keeps me up at night is how do I make payroll? And so these are some of the things that I've been lucky enough to be successful at, and one of the things that I want to pass along. The first part I want to talk about is if you're in business, if you're running your own business, or if you're running somebody else's business as an employee, if you're in business, then you're in sales. You might think as a developer you're not in sales. You might think as a customer success rep or marketing department you're not in sales. Every single person in a company is in sales. And the reason is sales is what keeps the lights on. And unfortunately, when I started this startup, I got hours and hours and hours of pitch coaching and hours of meetings with investors. How much sales training did I get in my first 2 years of business? 0. And I can tell you that all the energy that was put into learning how to fundraise and learning how to speak to investors, if even a half of that had been put into sales training for myself and my team, we probably would have got that hockey stick sales growth a lot sooner. And so, you know, depending on what mentors you listen to or what thought leaders you think of, but if you're listening to Guy Kawasaki, then you've heard this. But he wasn't at the top of my list of the ones that I was hearing about. I was hearing about fail fast, fail often. You know, that you're supposed to be this overnight success or just stop and go on to something else. What I should have heard from day one is this quote: "Cash is what keeps the doors open and pays the bills. As my mother used to say, sales fixes everything." And it's true. You are feeling overwhelmed at your job? Well, if there's extra sales, you can hire somebody. You're feeling like you don't have the expertise in the company and you want to bring in a consultant? Well, if you have sales, you can afford to bring that person in. You feel like you're getting burnt out, burning the candle at both ends, and you want to go on vacation? Well, guess what? If you have sales, then you can afford to go on vacation. So really, the first piece of advice when running a startup should be about sales. And stop, that's it. Until you understand that message, there's really no point in talking about anything else. And the reason why I'm harping on this is that it took me 4 years to understand how important sales is. When I started my business, I knew the problem we were solving was important because I had been my own customer. I had been hiring using psychometric testing for 2.5 years. I knew that who people claim to be and what's on their resume and how well they interview cannot predict future success. So I was willing to go through as much difficulty as necessary to prove to the rest of the business community that this was the way to hire because I knew it intrinsically. I had had that personal experience. Most of the time when you start a business, you're supposed to validate it with everybody else. It doesn't matter how much you believe in your own product, it's whether or not somebody will buy it. But I was willing to wait and go through it until, eventually we got sales. But if I had been focusing on validating my product by lots of sales, not 5 or 10 or 12 customers saying they love it, but lots and lots, I would have been able to have success much sooner. And so, I've harped on sales. Really, that should be the first thing that you think about as every member of the company when you wake up in the morning is sales our number one priority as a company? Now, assuming that you understand that sales are the most important thing, a great shortcut to success is to build a network. So William was talking about the importance of a peer network. Well, a network is amazing because they can make introductions for you to investors, to lighthouse or marquee customers. They can help you fast track your sales by telling you this is the sales training or the sales model or the growth hack that will work for your business. And so we moved to Waterloo after we've done basically first year of kind of hacking together a type of solution and got into Hyperdrive Cohort 2. Shout out to Carl, who's in the audience, who is also in Hyperdrive as well. It's great to see a old friend. And so we joined Hyperdrive as Cohort 2. Now it's Rev. And Rev is one of many in Canada that try to accelerate companies. Now, it's not a silver bullet. It's not going to make your business successful. But what it does do is that at Community Tech right now, there are 600 startups, part of Startup Services. So how in the world is your startup going to stand out from everybody else? How is it that people are going to think that your business deserves their time and attention more than everyone else? Well, the way you do that is you get third-party credentialing. And when you join an accelerator, it all of a sudden makes you stand out from the rest of the crowd. So if you're running a startup or thinking about running a startup, first thing you need to do is get early customers. You don't have sales, nobody's going to accept you until they're into their accelerator unless you're maybe life sciences or hardware or nanotechnology that it's all about the IP first. But most businesses, especially software as a service, your chances of getting into one of these is much greater depending on the amount of sales you have. So assuming you understood the first part about sales, second step, go and get yourself accepted into an accelerator. It will fast track you from standing out from the crowd and fast track your peer network. First thing, start in Canada. It's here, it's local, it's low risks. Start, figure it out here. But then as soon as you've done that, and if you can skip that, great, go to the US. Because in Canada, every single customer will value you more if you have US validation, and every single investor in Canada will value you more if you have money from the US. And I thought that this was just me that thought this, but actually if you're if you're on Facebook and you've joined Startup North, which is a very active startup community online, there is BetaKit once a month puts out a Ask the Investor. And sure enough, the post on the weekend was, what are the hacks to fundraising? And number 5 on the list was get a US investor. And even if you don't have one, say you've got US interested investors, because then all of a sudden the Canadian investors will want you. You'll be hot. And this works for customers as well. Selling in your own back door sucks. Your peers in this community will always think, oh, well, why do I need them? They'll go and buy somebody from far away. But getting your own customers in your backyard is hard. But the second everybody else wants you, then your neighbors will want you too. So by going to the US, you create a sense of elitism. You join a network in the US that has access beyond the network you could have got here. So these are a list of some of the best ones in Canada that honestly I've really never heard any reason not to do them. There's other ones I left out. Things are changing every year. But these ones I feel pretty confident at the top. They'd be great to join. For the few women that are in the room, thank you for coming out. That's amazing. Fierce Founders has a boot camp twice a year. They're absolutely incredible. And then half of those companies tend to go into the accelerator, and they also accept candidates from outside of it, and they're doing it right now. So if you're thinking about running a business, that's a great way of standing out from the crowd. If you are cool with going back and forth to Toronto. Creative Destruction Lab has a great track record as well. And Accelerator Center, most of the best companies in town have gone through it, including us graduating. And Rev, honestly, Dozer just raised, $2 million. Bridget just raised $2 million. So you can't really go too wrong there as a way to start. In the US, there's more than just 500 startups in YC. This list is from 2016. These are the platinum, gold, and silver third-party research done of the companies that are the best. If you Google best US accelerators for 2016, you'll get this list. If you can get an industry partner, so if you're in education, go do Techstars that is partnered with Kaplan Education. If you are in health sciences, go and do, Mars has a Johnson & Johnson accelerator track. If you can get an industry partner with it, you're even better. Okay, I've drowned out that. Next thing is grants. So to date, I've raised $1 million in angel financing and $250,000 US in a competition and $1 million in grants. So again, $1 million in angel financing, $1 million in grants. The grants were 10 times easier. I have raised the same amount of money in grants as I have angel financing, and the grants were almost a for sure thing compared to the agony of angel investing. The thing is the grants don't want to take much risk. So if you've graduated from an accelerator program and if you have sales, you're very likely to get the grants. Don't bother getting the grants if you don't have any sales, and don't bother with the grants if you don't have some sort of third-party validation. But the grants are plentiful, and a lot of them when you're starting out you can do by yourself. And then when you get successful and you have extra money, you can pay somebody like MentorWorks to write them all for you so they stop sucking up your time and you can just reap the benefits. Some interesting things, IRAP, I just got my first IRAP grant for $136,000. When I was starting out, everyone talked about IRAP, so I thought I was supposed to apply for that first. IRAP likes to see that you've squeezed out all the money from other places first. Same thing with investors. They want to make sure that you've squeezed out all the grant money first. Well, really low-hanging fruit one is the Jumpstart grant through the Accelerator Center. It's $25,000. You show your bank statement has $25,000. Hey, mom and dad, can you put $25,000 in for a day? Don't ever repeat that. Oh, this is on tape. I really didn't do that. We really had it. We really had that money in there. I promise we did. But you match the $25,000 with their $25,000. That's $50,000 that you're dedicating to growing your business. OCE, at the time we had to be commercializing academic research. Now, if you're part of the Accelerator Center, and there's a couple other caveats, you can access that money. And they keep doing small ones. There's like 30,000 grants right now. If you're just, they're specifically looking for early stage companies. So they're making it a lot easier. Employment Ontario, every hire that you make, you should probably be able to get at least a $2,000 grant to help with that new hire. Every new hire has to learn about your business, has to learn something, so you can probably justify a training grant. And also, if you're going and doing that sales training that's so effective, up to $10,000 per employee to help them do training. So if there is a training course out there for $3,000 each, you can probably get 5 employees and get 80% of it covered through Employment Ontario. CDMN Soft Landing, you are going to an accelerator in New York, get $4,000 from the Soft Landing program to help you land there. And then IRAP, once you've exhausted that list, then go to IRAP. Start early, start low. I probably should have started with $50,000 maybe 2 years ago, but it's also a great source. And very last slide, this is well over 5 minutes, I apologize. Fundraising. This should be the last on the list, not the first. I swear every startup conversation about money started with fundraising, and I'm just trying to say it should be the last conversation. So once you've exhausted all the other slides and you have lots of traction, like at least 15,000 a monthly recurring revenue, if you're closer to 30 or 50, even better, but honestly, you need some real money in the door, you can then go to angels and angel groups and early seed funds. Notice that I don't write VC on here because you don't go to VCs until you're ready for Series A. Some of the early seed funds will say they're VCs, fine, but most of the time when there's events, they're like, come back to me when you're ready for a $5 million investment. To start out with, you've got to start small, and that's often people that are writing $25,000 checks or $100,000 checks. It's really small. And the way that you get somebody to give you $25,000 of their hard-earned money is that they know you as a person, which means they have met you through their network, which means that early fundraising is all about finding somebody in this community that is a champion for you, or somebody within the accelerators communities, somebody that is going to champion you and tell you that they'll give you their money, and then they'll find a friend to put their money in. And then when you've got 2 people that put their money in, then you can go to somebody else and say, these 2 people are in. Investors are often sheep. They need somebody to lead, and securing that lead is painstakingly difficult. And the way you do that is by showing traction with sales, by having third-party credentialing such as grants backing you and accelerators backing you, and somebody from the community that they really, really, really respect. So lead. Then once you've got that lead and you've got a little bit of momentum, you've got to create urgency. Why do people need to put their money in now? Because if they can wait 6 months and put money in later, they will. So somehow you need to create a sense of urgency. So for instance, I'm fundraising a bridge round right now, and I know that by the time American Thanksgiving hits, things start to slow down, and by the time we're in mid-December, if it's not closed, forget it. So I now have a lead. I have somebody putting in half the round. I'm talking to all these other people. There's only so much left, and I'm talking to everybody right now, and it's closing, so all of a sudden I have urgency. If they wait, they'll miss out on the round. And that's all part of the momentum. So again, sales, accelerators, grants, fundraising, in that order. And the reality is how successful you are at fundraising comes back to how well of a salesperson you are. My ability to convince a customer to pay for my product is the same skill set required for me to convince an investor to spend their money on me. And if I had learned that sales training in day 1, I would have done a better job in fundraising. It's something that I've had to learn. But your ability to sales, some of the best CEOs are the best salespeople. And so every single person going out and learning how to public speak and learning how to sell, even if you're a developer, is one of the best skills that you can really hone in on as you're running a startup. So again, thank you very much. My name is Caitlin MacGregor, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Plum.